I'm gonna make a video on trying to further elaborate the blank slate. Um, so if someone like reincarnates, you know, the thing is with reincarnation is that some people they have all these ideas in their head, and for some unusual reason, it's very difficult for them to blurt it out. So um, it's like I guess that's just how some people are, right? Some people are like that. It's just like they do consider all the possibilities and such and such. Um, so, um, here's what I realize. I realize, from you know listening to an audiobook to have past life regression, I realize that because there are psychics around, but the only problem is, even if they may not, they always have, there's always like a phone number or something, right? The only thing is, is it's like they might have like, it may cost like $100 an hour, right? The thing is, they're always in places that just for whatever reason, it's just much more difficult, right? I'm not someone who, you know, like it's just not easily accessible. For example, when I was at UW, I went to the one of the what's that called, a hub or something? I don't know. Um, and the problem, and there were services for free, like you could have 1 hour free consultation with a lawyer. I never, took that advantage. I never really saw a reason to, right? So, um, it's a lot like that. The thing is that with Jeff Bezos being an INFP, what he understood was that some people just they can't take opportunities that are presented to them like that, right? It just does not compute, right? Like for whatever reason, right? Like maybe they're just too tired outside, when they're out of their house, right? And that's one of the reasons for the success of the Amazon apps, right? Not only that, they just were able to, like, I don't know, Amazon did a lot of things that a lot of people couldn't understand. There's certain people who can understand, um, I don't know, like, for whatever reason, you know, like, I can't tell what type of person doesn't understand this. I'm, it's hard to say. But I think a lot of people don't understand, um, like, it's easy to compare Amazon to like other bookstore companies, right? But I think it's much better to compare Amazon to uh, like to the average person attending your local flagship university, including the professors, and the parents that pay for it, right? So, is what I realize is that there are certain types of people who, for the most part, get a lot of, like they just there's a certain type of person that, for whatever reason, they get treated better than everyone else, and I'm trying to figure out the reason for that. Um, my guess is that in one of their past lives, they were straight in ancient Egypt. And I'm trying to think of other examples. It's not so easy. Um, so I did a past life regression when I took advantage of the free trial of the Amazon Audible. So I took advantage of listening to a specific audiobook written. The author is Dick Sutpen. SUT is the first three letters of his last name. So P might be have been the fourth letter, and I can't remember the other one. So um, So it's just that I was listening to the audiobook in the comfort of my home. No, the thing is, it was not through YouTube. It was through the Audible app. So um, YouTube does have similar free regressions, and they tend to be very long videos. It's just some works for some people and others. So that's what I realize. Um, Sometimes you have to, there's a trial and error for some folks, and for whatever reason, I was lucky that I found the specific one that was that's good for me. So um, the thing is, I realize is that the reason for Amazon's success is that it's just the way their mindset. And Jeff Bezos certainly, like with his leadership and guidance, the rest of the engine really just went through. So what people really, I find that a lot of people, especially if they're in charge of, these $1 trillion projects, and many of these ideas, they have all these, amazing ideas, and they have people around on it that could execute it. And then when it's executed, they realize certain things are off. Um, it's almost like this idea from, what's that called? Top brain, bottom brain? I can't remember the author's name. Um, it's kind of like that. Though I don't think that's the best example. Um, so a lot of people might be on. So the top brain is best described as like it doesn't correlate to intuition with Myers-Briggs at all. Actually, it may correlate slightly to extrovert intuition. I can't say if that's the case. So I just I definitely get a sense that you know it might be because of the geographical location on it. A lot of people in the Pacific Northwest, especially Seattle, they tend to be very not neurotic, right? Well, in many parts of the world are far more neurotic. So neuroticism is not described here. I would describe neuroticism as basically someone who in 2024 would not have Jay Inslee as governor. Now I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. That doesn't describe neuroticism. That is my definition, right? And someone in 2012 would not have Christine Gregoire as governor, right? So, it's like, all right, no, that's not like an adequate definition of neuroticism. I have, been outside the state before. I've actually left the country like 10, 15 years ago. Something like between, I will say it. I get the vibe that people are slightly more neurotic every time I leave every time I hop through the airport, and when I land, to outside the country, I definitely get a sense that people are slightly more neurotic, and they would certainly not have they would certainly have not have those two politicians as governor. Um, so I can't really describe neuroticism other than that. And the reason why is because I actually have to have a concise definition. Um, I'm not saying that the definitions proposed by psychologists and third-party psychologists, I call it, um, the creator of these tests, they just try to describe in general terms. It just doesn't really. Part of the reason for mistyping is because of these inadequate definitions. So, let's see. I find that a lot of people never, they have their inner circle of people they trust, and even if there's a lot of, they will just, it's almost like machines and such. I find that a lot of people, like they never actually uncovered the truth. Like folks like the Logic Junkie who actually try to, figure out the truth, right? The Logic Junkie is a former YouTuber who's no longer a YouTuber. I'm not even sure he is right now. He's basically disappeared off the internet except for Reddit.com. Yeah, I don't think that's like he was last active in that website like over 10 years ago, I think. So It's basically not on the internet anymore. Um, but Reddit.com for sure is INTJ, so I'll definitely have to mention that. Um, but yeah. So, um, part of the reason, I think that, um, part of the reason I think, um, like, it, it reminds me of, someone who's just, their head is completely stuck in their mind. It's like, oh, maybe, it's like, oh, you should go here, you should, it may not understand that, well, not everybody could, like, it's like asking a homeless person, oh, maybe you should just purchase a house. And, like, that doesn't, how could anyone, like, there are some people who are literally, like, completely, I'm like, I get it. Not everyone's taking a sociology class, right? I get it, right? Sociology is not a requirement to graduate from most universities, right? Um, especially the flagship state university, right? I'm not saying it should be required. I'm just saying it's not required in most cases, right? So, like introductory sociology class, right? So, and the thing is, I don't even think introductory sociology is not that great anyway. So it's like, I mean, there are folks that have taken it, but it's like, even if you just take it once, like, anyway, um, I haven't taken a sociology class, so I have interacted with folks. I have interacted with homeless people before, and I get the sense that um, I definitely get the sense that the air has affected them in many ways. The air being ESFJ, I get the sense that you just like that's it. The air is ESFJ, right? Um, it's just so like ESFJ is basically that any influence for ESFJ does not um like it just is not much clarity in thinking, and it just so that explains a lot about it explains the alcoholic behavior, and it explains a lot of other things, right? So it also explains, and capitalism being ESFP, it explains a lot, right? So I think the book of The Power of Habits is a great book to really at least get you thinking about habits, right? Because habits are one of those things that explains why some people end up being millionaires at a young age. It explains a lot of world records, actually.